When life breaks you down, when the noise of the world drowns your spirit, silence becomes your weapon. In silence, you meet yourself, the raw, unpolished, unbreakable version of you. Too many people waste their strength proving themselves to others, shouting their worth, and chasing validation from those who don't matter. But the truth is, the more silent you become, the more powerful you get. Because silence is not weakness. Silence is control. When you stop reacting to every insult, when you stop justifying every move, when you stop letting opinions dictate your direction, you rise above the chaos. Power isn't found in noise. It's found in discipline, in self-mastery, in knowing you don't need to explain yourself to anyone. The man who controls his tongue controls his destiny. The man who refuses to argue about his value eventually becomes undeniable. Silence makes you unpredictable. Silence makes you dangerous. Silence makes you respected. So let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them off. Your silence is the echo of your greatness forming. Remember, power isn't in proving, it's in becoming. Silence equals discipline and self-mastery. And most people will never understand the power behind those words because they live in a world where noise has become an addiction. Everywhere you look, people are talking, posting, arguing, shouting, desperate to be seen and heard, desperate to prove something. But the truth is, the loudest voice in the room is rarely the strongest one. The man who can remain silent, who can stay composed when others lose control, who can walk through storms without announcing every step, is the man who owns himself. Silence isn't just the absence of words, it's the presence of control. It is the moment when your emotions scream for you to react, but you choose to stay still. It is when your ego begs for recognition, but you choose to let your results speak louder than any argument. That is discipline, the ability to chain your impulses and master yourself when it matters most. When you are silent, you listen, and in listening, you gain awareness. You begin to notice what others miss because they are too busy making noise. You observe patterns, you recognize weaknesses, you identify opportunities. Silence is the breeding ground for strategy, and strategy is what separates those who stumble from those who conquer. Self-mastery is not about controlling the world. It's about controlling yourself in a world that constantly tempts you to lose control. Every time you remain silent, when anger burns inside you, you grow stronger. Every time you let actions replace arguments, you sharpen your power. Every time you refuse to be dragged into meaningless battles, you save energy for the wars that truly matter. People fear silence because silence exposes truth. When you stop talking, when you stop distracting yourself with noise, you are left face to face with who you really are. And that confrontation is terrifying for most, but for the stro, silence becomes the forge where character is built. You start asking yourself, who am I when no one is watching? Do I need approval to feel powerful? Do I need to argue to feel relevant? The man who finds peace in silence discovers he doesn't need external validation. He doesn't need to prove himself with noise. His discipline, his patience, his unshakable calmness become his shield and his weapon. The world cannot control a man who controls himself. Think about it. When someone insults you and you stay silent, they lose power. When someone doubts you and you don't argue back, they feed your fuel without realizing it. Your silence becomes an enigma they cannot solve. People are unnerved by what they cannot predict, and nothing is more unpredictable than a man who speaks little and acts much. Self-mastery through silence means you are no longer driven by emotion, but by intention. You speak when necessary, you act when required, and you preserve your energy for the things that move you forward. Discipline in silence also builds patience, and patience builds greatness. Most people fail because they want instant recognition. They want to prove themselves quickly, loudly, visibly. But those who practice silence understand that growth is not rushed, power is not shouted, and legacy is not built overnight. They work in silence, they suffer in silence, they rise in silence, and then they arrive with results so undeniable that no argument, no noise, no voice can overshadow them. Silence gives you the patience to wait for the right moment, and when the moment comes, your actions crush every doubt. Self-mastery is the ultimate freedom. It is the ability to say, I don't need to explain myself. I don't need to defend myself. I know who I am. I know what I am building. And I know where I'm going. That mindset makes you unbreakable. While others waste time shouting and fighting to be seen, you are building silently, preparing quietly, growing in the shadows until you can no longer be ignored. Noise is temporary. Silence is eternal. Those who shout today will be forgotten tomorrow. But those who discipline themselves in silence, those who master their emotions and their focus, will echo through history because their results will speak forever. So understand this. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is strength. Silence is not weakness. Silence is power. Every time you bite your tongue instead of lashing out, every time you choose to walk away instead of wasting energy on meaningless fights, every time you turn down the noise of the world to listen to your own inner voice, you are practicing discipline. And that discipline is shaping you into someone unstoppable. The more silent you become, the sharper your vision gets. The more silent you become, the stronger your actions become. The more silent you become, the more you master yourself. And self-mastery is the highest form of power any man can possess. Power grows when you stop seeking validation, because the very moment you stop begging the world to notice you is the moment you start noticing yourself. Too many people live their lives like actors on a stage, adjusting their every move depending on who's watching, chasing applause, desperate for approval. They become addicted to likes, to comments, to claps from people who don't even care about them. And in that constant chase, they lose their strength, they lose their freedom, they lose themselves. True power begins when you stop performing for others and start living for yourself. When you decide that your worth is not defined by opinions, not defined by applause, not defined by the approval of people who don't walk your path or carry your battles, that's when you truly rise. Seeking validation is a trap, and it's the reason so many people remain powerless. Because if your happiness depends on someone else's recognition, you are their slave. If your motivation relies on their compliments, they control your fire. If your confidence are rises and falls with their approval, you will never be unshakable. But the moment you stop chasing validation, the moment you stop caring about whether they clap for you or not, you take back your power. You no longer bend your dreams to fit their opinions. You no longer shrink your vision to make them comfortable. You no longer sacrifice your soul just to be liked. That is the foundation of power, being unapologetically yourself, regardless of who approves. The most dangerous man in the world is the one who doesn't need validation because he is free. He can walk into any room without seeking permission to exist. He can chase any dream without waiting for someone to say it's possible. He can endure criticism without it breaking him because his belief in himself is stronger than the noise around him. The weak need applause to move forward. The strong move forward with or without applause. And it's always the strong who end up being admired, respected, even followed, ironically, by the Amy people who once doubted them. Power grows when you stop seeking validation because validation makes you predictable. If people know you crave approval, they can manipulate you. They can withhold recognition to control you. They can use your need to be liked against you. But when you don't care, when your actions are driven purely by your vision and your standards, you become untouchable. They can't use your hunger for approval against you because you're not hungry for it anymore. You're focused on results, on growth, on legacy, not on applause. That is where your strength multiplies. When you stop seeking validation, you begin to live authentically. You stop wearing masks. You stop pretending. You stop living someone else's idea of life. And authenticity is magnetic. People are drawn to those who live with conviction, who are true to themselves, who don't bend under pressure. Ironically, the less you care about being liked, the more people are compelled to respect you. Because act down. Everyone admires those who live free of society's chains. Validation is a drug. It feels good in the moment, but it leaves you weaker every time you depend on it. Real power is built in solitude, in self-belief, in the moments where nobody claps for you, but you keep going anyway. Every great success story was written by someone who stopped waiting for permission and validation. They worked in silence, they built in shadows, and they endured doubt until the results spoke so loudly that no one could deny them. That's the paradox. When you stop chasing validation, the world eventually validates you without you even asking, because results are undeniable. Your life cannot be dictated by the opinions of people who don't share your vision. If they don't understand your dream, they'll never validate it. If they don't share your hunger, they'll never support it. So why waste time begging for their approval? Power belongs to those who keep building without it. When you stop seeking validation, you start trusting yourself more. You start making decisions boldly. You start walking your path with a different energy because you no longer care about fitting in. You care about standing out. And here's the truth. The crowd never validates the visionary in the beginning. The crowd laughs, doubts, criticizes, mocks, until the visionary succeeds. Then suddenly they admire. That's the cycle of validation. So why waste your power chasing something that will only come after you no longer need it? The greatest act of strength is to look at the world and say, whether you believe in me or not, I'm still going to win. That's where your real freedom begins. Stop needing applause. Stop craving approval. Stop waiting for recognition. The day you decide that your value comes from within, that your worth is defined only by your effort, your discipline, your results, that is the day you become powerful. And the more you live in that truth, the more unstoppable you become. Control you. Our reactions control your destiny. Life will always test you. It will throw insults, betrayal, failure, heartbreak, and unexpected storms at your face. You cannot control what happens to you, but you can always control how you respond. That single choice, your reaction, is the dividing line between weakness and strength, between victimhood and victory, between a wasted life and a legendary one. Most people hand over their power every day because they let emotions rule them. Someone cuts them off in traffic and their rage explodes. Someone criticizes them and they collapse. Someone doubts them and they abandon their dreams. That's not power. That's slavery to external forces. True strength is when you master your reactions so completely that nothing outside of you can control your inside. Imagine this. Two men face the same storm. One curses the rain, panics, and falls apart. The other tightens his coat, adapts, and keeps walking forward. The storm is the same, but the destiny is different. Why? Because of reaction. Your destiny is not written by the circumstances. It's written by the way you respond to them. The world respects the man who stays calm in chaos, who thinks clearly when others lose control, who acts with precision while others drown in emotion. That calmness is not natural. It is trained. It is disciplined. It is forged in the fire of self-control. Every time you react impulsively, you give away your future. You let someone else dictate your emotions. You let anger drive decisions that should have been made with clarity. You let fear make you run from opportunities that could have changed your life. You let doubt silence your potential. But when you take control, when you pause, breathe, and choose your reaction, you change the outcome. You build destiny with intention instead of destroying it with emotion. Understand this, the people who win in life are not the ones who avoid problems, but the ones who respond to problems with strength and intelligence. A man who can stay calm under pressure becomes a leader. A man who refuses to be rattled by criticism becomes unstoppable. A man who doesn't waste energy on petty fights but channels it into building his vision becomes powerful beyond imagination. Reaction is energy, and energy wasted on nonsense is energy stolen from your destiny. The world is full of people desperate to provoke you. They want you to snap, to break, to reveal weakness. If you react to everything, you play their game. But if you control yourself, if you refuse to hand over your power, you win every time. Silence in the face of insult is power. Calmness in the face of chaos is power. Patience when everyone else is rushing is power. Because control of self is the foundation of control over life. Think about the greats, athletes, warriors, entrepreneurs, leaders. They are tested constantly, but they rise because they don't let emotions cloud their actions. A fighter doesn't win by throwing wild punches fueled by anger. He wins by staying calm, precise, focused. A businessman doesn't succeed by panicking when the market falls. He wins by making decisions with discipline while others drown in fear. In every arena of life, the same truth applies. Control your reactions, control your destiny. And here's the truth. People who cannot control their reactions are predictable. They're easy to manipulate, easy to break, easy to defeat. But when you master yourself, when you can look insult in the face and smile, when you can face failure and keep going, when you can endure pressure without cracking, you become untouchable. No one can read you. No one can use your emotions against you. No one can drag you down to their level. That's real power. Control is not about suppressing your emotions. It's about channeling them. Anger can destroy you, or it can fuel you to work harder. Fear can paralyze you, or it can sharpen your awareness. Pain can break you, or it can mold you into something stronger. The difference is in your reaction. Do you collapse, or do you rise? Do you panic, or do you plan? Do you lash out, or do you endure? Your answers to those questions shape everything that follows. Life is a battlefield, and every day you're faced with choices that test your reactions. Most people waste years reacting to small things, arguments, opinions, negativity, while their destiny slips away. But the few who master themselves, the few who can stay focused and calm no matter what comes, are the ones who bend destiny in their favor. That is why discipline of reaction is the highest form of freedom. So understand this. Your destiny is not stolen by the world. It is surrendered by your reactions. Take back control. Decide today that nothing and no one will dictate how you feel, how you act, how you move forward. Let storms come. Let critics speak. Let failure knock on your door. Stand tall, control your reaction, and keep walking, because every reaction you control is a step closer to the destiny you deserve. Silence makes you unpredictable and respected, because the moment you stop revealing everything about yourself, the moment you stop explaining, justifying, and announcing your every thought, you become a mystery. And mystery is power. People fear what they cannot read. They cannot prepare for what they cannot predict. They cannot attack what they cannot understand. Most people are so desperate to be known, to be heard, to be validated, that they give away all their power through words. They show their hand before the game even begins. They announce their moves before taking action. They let emotions spill out in every conversation. And because of that, they become easy to control, easy to manipulate, easy to defeat. But when you practice silence, when you reveal little, when you move in shadows instead of noise, you hold all the cards. Unpredictability is a weapon that very few have the discipline to sharpen. If people know exactly what you will say, exactly how you will react, exactly where you are going, then you are already beaten. They can counter you, block you, sabotage you before you even arrive. But when your mind is hidden, when your emotions are guarded, when your words are few, you become untouchable. They cannot anticipate you, and in not knowing, they are forced to respect you. The quiet man in the room commands more attention than the one who cannot stop talking, because everyone wonders what he's thinking. Everyone wonders what he knows. Everyone feels his presence, even without words. That presence alone is respect. Silence also protects your focus. Every time you explain your dreams to people who cannot understand, you invite doubt. Every time you argue about your plans, you waste energy that could have been used building them. Every time you reveal your weaknesses in anger or frustration, you give someone the tools to break you. Silence solves all of this. It keeps your energy inside you, where it becomes strength. It keeps your vision protected until it is strong enough to be undeniable. It keeps your emotions guarded so no one can use them against you. Silence is a shield, and with that shield, you walk through the world untouchable. Respect is not earned by talking, it's earned by proving. When you speak less, your actions must speak more, and actions are what people respect. A man who boasts constantly becomes a clown when he cannot deliver, but a man who says little and achieves much is respected without ever demanding it. Silence amplifies results. When you don't talk about what you are building, when you don't explain what you are planning, when you don't waste time proving yourself, your success arrives like thunder out of a clear sky. That shock is what makes people stand in awe. That shock is what earns you respect. The unpredictable man is dangerous because no one can calculate his next step. You don't know what he is thinking. You don't know how he will react. You don't know what his limits are. That uncertainty makes people cautious around him. They tread carefully because they don't know where he stands. And in that carefulness lies respect. People do not underestimate the man they cannot read. They underestimate the loud one, the emotional one, the one who reveals too much. But silence turns you into an enigma, and enigmas are always treated with caution. Look at history, look at warriors, leaders, even businessmen who dominated their fields. The ones who spoke the least often carried the most weight. Their silence forced people to study their actions instead of their words. Their unpredictability made them feared and admired at the same time. And that balance of fear and admiration is the definition of respect. But silence is not about weakness or retreat. It is not about hiding in fear. It is about strategic control. It is about knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. It is about choosing to reveal little, not because you have nothing to say, but because you are too powerful to waste your words. Every word you withhold increases the value of the ones you eventually speak. Every silence you keep builds anticipation, builds mystery, builds authority. When you finally do speak, people listen because your silence has trained them to. The world has too much noise. Everyone is shouting for attention. Everyone is oversharing. Everyone is desperate to be seen. In that chaos, silence becomes rare. And what is rare is always respected. Be the one who doesn't need to scream, doesn't need to explain, doesn't need to prove. Be the one who lets silence create the aura and results confirm the truth. People may question the loud, but they respect the quiet achiever. So remember this, silence makes you unpredictable because it hides your strategy, it hides your emotions, it hides your weaknesses. Silence makes you respected because it forces people to pay attention to your presence, to your actions, to your results. Talk less, prove more, let them wonder, let them doubt. BT, let them gossip. Your silence is not emptiness, it is power. And when you finally choose to break it, your voice will carry more weight than all the noise around you. Greatness is built in silence, revealed in action. The world sees the highlight reel, the trophies, the victories, the applause, but it never sees the lonely hours, the late nights, the sacrifices, the endless grind when no one is watching. That's because true greatness doesn't grow under a spotlight. It grows in the shadows, in silence, where discipline is tested and character is forged. The champions you admire today were once unknown, working in basements, gyms, and small rooms, while the world ignored them. They were not asking for recognition, they were building for it. Greatness doesn't need attention while it's being built. It only needs consistency, patience, and relentless effort. In silence, there are no distractions, no need to prove anything, no pressure to perform for an audience, no noise pulling you in every direction. It's just you and the work. And it is in that private battlefield where you conquer yourself, where you overcome laziness, excuses, and weakness. Every rep in the gym, every page studied, every hour spent honing your craft while nobody cares. That is the foundation of greatness. People quit because they want results too fast. They want applause too soon. But those who embrace silence, those who are willing to grind unseen, become unstoppable because their reward is not in being noticed. It's in becoming undeniable. Action is the only proof that matters. You can talk for years about what you want to do, but talk is cheap. Everyone talks, everyone dreams, everyone imagines, but only a few turn those dreams into disciplined action. Greatness doesn't reveal itself in promises or words. It reveals itself when action collides with consistency. And when you've been working in silence long enough, your results will speak louder than anything you could ever say. You won't need to explain yourself because your life, your success, your transformation will be the explanation. Building in silence also protects you from doubt and negativity. When you keep your plans to yourself, no one can shoot them down before they grow strong enough to survive. When you work quietly, you don't waste energy defending yourself to people who don't matter. You keep your energy focused on the one thing that does matter, execution. And when execution becomes a way of life, greatness is inevitable. Think about a seed planted in the ground. It spends months hidden beneath the soil, in darkness with no recognition, no applause, no validation. But in that silence, roots are growing, strength is forming, and life is preparing to break through. When it finally emerges, it stands tall, undeniable, impossible to ignore. That is greatness. What happens beneath the surface in silence is what creates the power that the world eventually sees. Without that silent growth, nothing would ever bloom. The reason most people never achieve greatness is because they cannot endure the silence. They need recognition at every step. They need to show the world their progress before it's ready. They talk more than they build. They post more than they work. They celebrate before they've won. And in doing so, they drain the energy that should have been invested in action. Silence demands patience, and patience is rare. But patience is the companion of greatness. When you finally reveal your actions, when the results of your silent grind come to light, the world is forced to respect you. They can doubt words, but they cannot deny results. They can argue opinions, but they cannot argue facts. When your body transforms, when your business thrives, when your skills dominate, when your life changes visibly, no amount of noise can erase that truth. That's why greatness doesn't announce itself in the process. It arrives fully formed in the outcome. And here's the secret: working in silence also sharpens your confidence. You no longer need the world to cheer for you because you know the work is being done. You develop self-trust because every day you see yourself keeping promises to yourself. That trust turns into unshakable belief. And belief, when backed by action, is a force that nothing can stop. So remember, greatness is not built in the noise of attention, but in the silence of discipline. It is built in the lonely hours when no one cares. It is built in the sacrifices that nobody claps for. It is built in the persistence that happens behind closed doors. And when it is revealed, it does not need an announcement. The results speak for themselves. Let others waste time talking, chasing attention, and seeking recognition. You instead build in silence. Let your greatness be the loudest thing about you when the time is right. Because in the end, the world will not remember what you said. It will remember what you did. And so remember this, the world will always ride to pull you into its noise, into its chaos, into its endless hunger for attention. But the ones who rise, the ones who truly command power, are those who master silence, discipline, and control. Do not waste your life proving yourself to people who don't matter. Do not trade your destiny for the